Step into the spotlight.
I'm going to have to pull an Andy Worski today on this one. Underground Geek here. And today we're going to talk about the atrocity, the blasphemy that is the Immortal Iron Fist #2. Okay? And what's funny is I really had to try hard to find a copy of this comic. I don't know if that's any indication of how popular it is, but I'm going to say it is. So the cover right off the bat had me thinking that the Iron Fist was doing duck face, which he's really doing is like he's doing like his Bruce Lee face. I know that's what they're going for, the Bruce Lee face. He's like, oh, but he just looks like he's doing a duck face to me with the yellow mask. And then we have this little girl that's like 3 foot tall and knows kung fu because comic books. So I guess Carrie Andrews did the cover too because she had to put her name right next to the little girl's butt. Yeah, she's the cover artist. Carrie Andrews is the writer, cover artist, assistant editor as well. So you know nothing's correct because she had to be the assistant editor and the cover artist and the writer. So unlike Jeff and Sedgwick that can do the cover, lettering, and artwork, this is probably going to be trash. Okay. So for those of you that don't know, the backstory is pretty much this girl came from Kung Lung, and he's taking care of her, trying to get her integrated in society. Okay, you got it? So we start out here with our classic Kung Fu, empty your mind, be shapeless like water, my friend. Water can form into any shape, yes, crash through rocks. And so then he's actually mopping, and he's tied the mops up like some kind of weird Kung Fu thing that I've never seen in my life. He slips on a sponge because comics, and falls down, and then everybody's like, ha ha ha. Okay, so the art in this comic is terrible. This is fanfic art at best. And at worst, it's some of the worst artwork I've ever seen in a comic book. I'm going to move the computer a little bit closer to me here, so maybe you can hear me pretty good. So pretty much this old lady is like his maid, but then is very condescending about stuff, and I would have told her to take a hike a long time ago. But she said that she's going to take the girl to school in a limo, which has always been a helpful deal whenever you've got a girl that's trying to be low-key, and then you bring her to school in a limousine. But she takes her to school in a limousine. She's dressed like a... what are those people that live in like Antarctica and stuff, or Alaska, I mean, the Inuits? She's dressed like an Inuit. She goes in there, and this is where it starts getting weird right off the bat. So these girls and boys are all staring at her, and they say, her clothes scream donation bin, but her ride's a stretch, that filthy little liar. She's mocking us. Who does she think she is? We're going to find out. And so then we immediately cut to the next box here, and it's a bunch of random guys that were not in the last scene push her down and walk off. And I didn't understand what they were talking about because they had a completely different story that they were talking about that didn't have anything to do with this situation. And I was immediately thrown off because I was, you don't do this. You don't throw that in there and then throw the story off immediately and I don't know what's going on. So then the nerd kids come up, and they're all very poorly drawn. They get up and they welcome her into their little group, and they start trying to tell her how to fit in. And all of them talk like high schoolers, even though they're in middle school, which doesn't make any sense at all. And they say things like, she says, well, I'm from a mystical kingdom whose entrance is granted only every 10 years. So like Saskatchewan, it was, and then she says, I'm here to learn how to fit in. Can you help me? And they said, you want to fit? You need to find your door. My door? Okay, who says that? Who talks like that? Who describes these as your door? I've never heard a kid in my life say, you got to find your door. That's something a crazy childless weirdo would say. Every key's built to open something. You just have to find out what that is. Okay. And then they start telling her about all the different groups. They said door 1, the prestige, jocks and preps, future financial planners, and mortgage brokers, the new American dream. No one talks like this in middle school. They were probably still picking their nose in middle school. They're all so pretty, just don't look them in the eyes. Okay. So then they say door number 2, the coders. All science and donuts. They'll keep making Facebooks until they're allowed through door number 1. Spoiler alert, never. Science is outlawed where I'm from. What about the donuts? Tell me all about your mystical donuts. Oh my God. And second of all, I don't know any middle schoolers that are coders. That's just me. I mean, maybe there are, but we just call those geeks. Okay, we don't have to get fancy. It says door number 3, the trouble. Your various soldiers of carnage and vaping. They're in middle school. They don't vape. Nobody says carnage in middle school. God bless. After well-paid manufacturing jobs were sent overseas, they conceded their second. I mean, I can't even get into. No one talks like this. They don't look very happy. The outlook for the middle class is a little gloomy. Actually, no, the upper middle class is becoming bigger than it's been in the past decade, but okay. Whatever you say, as I take a sip of my coffee, because I have money to pay for it because I'm upper middle class. Door number 4, the weirdos, probably the most underestimated yet stimulating of all doors, a small yet caring tribe of lovable underdogs. Who are the weirdos? You're looking at them. So there's 2 of you. There's only 2 of you. 2 weirdos in the whole middle school. Maybe you're just weird. But anyway, so she says, so where do you fit? This is all so strange. Why can't everyone just be friends? Well, probably because there's more than one people here. And when there's more than one person, they're always not going to get along. Are you not from Kung Lung where like everyone fights for superiority around there? I mean, I don't understand. This is how school works, Pi. The doors are locked. Tribes, ritual, survival by combat. Combat? I'm good at combat. You know, that was kind of funny, but whatever. I was kidding about the combat. Oh, well, could I join your tribe? Is there some kind of initiation? And then they let out a little screech here, a autistic screech. Eee! We're going to be besties for life. Eee! If you can survive the IZ, then welcome to the club. And then we cut to the next scene here, and Danny Rand's babbling about something, and he's talking about how they can't beat these evil scrolls because each monster is more powerful than the next monster. That's what they're trying to find, is all the scrolls. And then we immediately cut to the other guy. He says, so how do we cut them off before the evil one shows up? I'm not sure we can. Then his phone rings, and he goes, Lee here, yeah, you don't say, right? I'm bringing a friend. Don't worry, he knows Kung Fu. You ready for a trip? Let me guess. And they cut to the next scene, back to Chinatown. And so then they immediately cut back around here, and if you didn't read the last comic, you're not even going to know what's going on. He says, I don't care what you heard. There's been no trouble. These bins didn't ransack themselves or the shelving. We just want to help. He says, every time you help, it gets worse. So then they notice that there's motorcycle streaks on the ground and trash. So obviously there was a gang member in here, or a group of gang members in there, and they were trying to keep them quiet. So then we cut back to Pi and her friends, and they said, what's going on? They look very sad. Did someone get in trouble? And then they cut to the next panel, and you can just barely see the people that were in the first panel at the distance there. And then you see the girl running from a completely different direction up to them and says, hey, have either of you seen Jace today? Like anywhere? Not since Friday night, afternoon. No, why? This is why. So they have the lost child, Jace Paz, Police Department of the City of New York, blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, do you think he's hurt? Oh, my gosh, look at her face. Look at her face. Who would want to hurt a skinny little kid like Jace? Well, I think you just answered the question for yourself. He's a skinny little kid. Anybody's going to pick on him. As Coach says, I can't suit up until my arm heals. We needed a new water boy. Ha, ha, ha. I mean, they keep throwing these jocks in here. And these regular, I mean, they don't even show that they're not implementing these people correctly. So then when we cut to the next page here, and they're in the locker room, it says, hey, water boy over here. Hey, give me a minute. I'll go to the urinal and fill your bottle up. Ha ha. Now, I thought that was kind of funny because, that's how boys actually talk. They're stupid. And then somebody at the distance says, "Where is he?" And they said, "Ee!" I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same noise all over again. Everybody's autistic screeching. Not her again. Where's who? So then she immediately goes to start beating up untrained teenage boys, probably under teenage boys, and they're saying, "I didn't do anything," and she just keeps pounding their heads in, even though they have no combat skills whatsoever, and you're supposed to be like a kung fu expert. And they say, I don't know. They don't know what's going on, and she says, "I'm watching you." Are you crazy? You just beat up these little boys that don't even know how to fight. I mean, what in the world? So then she does some kind of kung fu jump through the skylight into the back of the limousine. And the grandma says, How did it feel?" And I don't think they were involved. And the little dragon's like, "Gork, gork, gork," because you have to have this little cute sidekick. And she says, "Trust me, they would have talked. I didn't ask how it went. I asked how it felt. Revenge isn't about the result. It's about the process. It's not revenge. For your friend's sake, I hope that's true. Now I've asked you a question. It felt good. I'm sorry. I'm ashamed." And then she pokes her little lip out. She goes, "Oh, don't be. That power is supposed to feel good. And you have the power to do many things. It flows through you like a dragon." What? She just beat up a bunch of unarmed, untrained boys for no reason and left them beat up in the locker room. There's probably going to be a police report filed because she keeps assaulting these boys. And you're just like, "Oh, that's fine." She says, "Now go on, be a kid. You're here to learn about the city and take this creature with you." Because she's going to take a dragon out in public and people's just going to be, "Oh, that's just a dog." She said, "There's more to this world than high rises and schoolwork." I mean, what in the world? This lady's a psychopath. She's teaching this girl how to be a bully. She's going to grow up and be like, I don't know, a supervillain. This is nuts, and we're only halfway through this book. Okay, so the gang shows up at another spot. They see an old lady, and they're going to beat her up. But it turns out the old lady is actually Danny Rand and his little friend there, and his friend's on his back because it's funny. Ha ha ha! See, we did a thing. And he says, "Eep!" Oh my God! He goes, "You can get off me now." "Oh, Danny, the places you take me. There you are, demon." I mean, it's just like, oh God. And he says, what do we have here? You're surrounded on all sides. I hope you brought friends, pathetic humans." "Well, you look like a bunch of battle toads, so I'm not sure that they're very afraid of you guys." So he jumps up in the air with a kung fu weapon I've never seen Iron Fist use, and the battle begins. So immediately we're going to cut to the next scene. And so now they're all looking at the little kids are all looking at the missing signs here, and they're talking and blah, blah, blah. The girls are saying things that girls never would say. And she calls one of the girls a horrible demon lizard. But actually she's pointing behind them, ha, 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 ha. Actually, they're frogs. They're not lizards. But anyway. And she throws the girl out of the way, kicks her up in the air. The girl says, "What are you doing?" And as she kicks her up in the air, she jumps out of the way and catches her. And she goes, "Trying to keep you safe. Hold on." And so basically she's Damian Wayne at this point. She knows a lot about combat and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. So how do you stop these things? Find a scroll. It can be in any of them. So, "Pie, what are you doing here?" And so basically she starts fighting the frogs, which are now using their tongues, and they're obviously frogs and not lizards. She jumps out of the way. They hit each other. She jumps out of the way again. She dives. She gets swallowed by one of them, then jumps out and gets a scroll because this girl has to be great at combat and save the day every time there's a combat situation, just like all the other SJW characters. She says, "Thunderer, I found this inside the frog." He says, "Give that to me. I told you no fighting. You are grounded." And then immediately the grandma shows back up. And I don't know what's going on with this grandma, but I have the feeling she's some kind of villain at this point. If you think it's normal for a kid to be studying all night, you may need some integration training yourself, Master Rand. Ha! She says, "Your student managed to keep her friends safe and follow your instructions of non-combat. Most impressive, wouldn't you say? I'll be home late. I've got homework of my own." So basically she sends her home. And then the grandma immediately leaves her by herself again, and like they just had a fighting situation. And so then the popular girls want to hang out with her now. So they take her off, and so the geeks are left to their own, and then they get a phone call from Jace, which has been missing. And that's where we end. Yep, that's where the comic book ends. That right there. I have to say, this is one of the worst written comics I've ever seen, and one of the worst drawn comics I've ever seen. It looks like it was drawn with colored pencils, and not the good kind of colored pencils. This is not the Iron Fist. This is not an Iron Fist comic. First of all, he didn't even use his Iron Fist. These demons are supposed to be so powerful, but yet he didn't even have to use his fists. And she didn't even have to use any fist powers, and she just beat them just like that. Okay. That's not very believable. And then there's the dialogue, because, you know, kids talk like this in this day and age. They're going to have full-on conversations about soldiers and carnage and all this kind of stuff, and they're going to randomly beat up other people. It says, jocks and preps, future financial planners, and mortgage brokers, the new American dream. No one talks like this in middle school. They're saying things like, did you see that boy? Ew, gross. That's the way they talk, okay? My little brother was 10 years younger than me, so I got to see a lot of the way younger kids act, and that's not the way that they act. But anyway, you know, this would have been more believable if she was in high school, but no, she has to be like 12 years old because comic books. And she has to be a young little weird Asian kid. And then these jocks, she beats up these random boys for no reason in a luchador mask, and I'm just, oh my God. I mean, she's going to be a psychopath. She's going to be the Punisher. I mean, this is one of the worst comics I've ever seen. They draw the characters like Archie. I mean, I don't understand. Carrie Andrews has to be like the worst comic book person I've ever seen in my life. This is terrible. I don't have anything else to say, boys. This is bad. But there's my review of the comic, and so tell me what you think. Tell me what else you want to review. I may try to find another issue of this just because it's that bad. I like to make fun of it. But anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Underground Geek out.